Okay, hey guys, here's a video on just kind of all the material that's in chapter 1, but I just wanted to go over the study guide for anyone that is looking to retake the test, but maybe you are lacking in some of the material in the chapter 1 study guide. So please watch this video. It's going to be a long one, but I'm going to go over most of these questions here. Um, so yeah, let's go through this together. Let's start with this first one, right? Find the length indicated. We want to find the length of HJ. I'm gonna break this down like step by step, and then the next problem is very similar. So I want you to be able to try that next problem on your own based on what I did. So HJ. First of all, let's try to figure out where HJ is, right, in the picture. HJ. H is right here, J is right here. So that's from start to finish. That's HJ, right? So we know HJ is represented by this 13x minus 1. HI is represented by this 9x minus 1. And then IJ is that 4. Okay, so how we're going to break this down is we're going to take HI plus, if we combine HI, that first part of the line, with IJ, it's going to equal HJ. Okay? This first part of the line plus the second part of the line is equal to the whole thing. This is segment addition postulate. Right? So we know HI is 9x minus 1, so I'm going to plug that in. Plus IJ is just 4. And equals HJ, which is 13x minus 1. Alright? And now when we have our equation set up, we're just going to combine some like terms. So we have some terms on the left side, and we have some terms on the right side. What are some like terms we can combine? And when I say like terms, I'm talking about, okay, which numbers have an x and which numbers don't have an x. Okay, so we know that negative 1 and 4, right, are like terms because they don't have an x. Negative 1 plus 4 is going to be positive 3. Okay, so I combine like terms, and I'm going to bring everything else down because I haven't used everything else yet. And then now let's go ahead. We want to solve for x, right? We have two x's here. We have an x on the left side. We have an x on the right side. We don't need both of them. We just need one. So I'm going to go ahead and move all of the x's to one side of the equation. Let me just do that by taking away 9x here. It's already positive. Let's take away 9x on both sides. That cancels out. 3 comes down, equals 13x minus 9x. 13 minus 9 is 4. Okay, so we have 4x equals 1. So let me rewrite this up here. Sorry, 4x minus 1. Now we have, now we have all the x on the right side of the equation, right? Now we just want to get rid of all of these other numbers here. Okay, so let's get rid of this minus 1 first. We're going to do the opposite. We're working backwards. So the opposite of minus 1 is plus 1. Again, do that on both sides. Cancels out on the right. So you get 4x equals 4. And then you divide, right? This is 4 times x. So the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So we're going to divide both sides by 4. Cancels out. And then you get x equals 1. Okay? But you don't stop there. The question says find HJ, right? So we know, again, we're going to go back to HJ. We know HJ is 13x minus 1. We know x is 1 now. So let's plug that in. 13x is the same thing as 13 times 1 minus 1. 13 times 1 is just 13. 13 minus 1 is 12. Okay? That's how I want you to do these type of problems. So go ahead, try number 2 out, right? The answer key is already posted on Schoology. Try it out, and then look through the answer key to see if you're correct. Let's try this midpoint question, right? And I'm going to do number 4 here because a lot of people just kind of skip number 4 and then know how to do it. It's the same thing. Look, this point is right here. So it says find the midpoints, right? Find the midpoint of the line segment. Okay, so midpoint is going to be like whatever that point in the middle is, right? We just gotta actually calculate it. There's a specific formula that goes with it, but we need to figure out what these two endpoints are. This one and this one. Okay, let's start with this one on the left. For the x, that's -4, and for the y, that's also -4. So we have -4 and -4. The other point, right? This other point right here, oops, this other point is at 0 on the x and then -3 on the y. So that's going to be 0 and -3. So we have our coordinates. Now we're going to plug it into this formula here, right? The midpoint is at x and y, where x is equal to x1 plus x2 over 2. And y is y1 plus y2 over 2. So we just need to figure out, okay, where are we plugging in these numbers? Remember, this is our first point, so it's going to be x1, y1, x2, y2. Let's plug in our numbers. x1 is -4 plus x2 is 0. y1 is -4 plus y2 is -3. -4 plus 0, that's just -4. -4 plus -3, that plus and the negative, that turns into a minus. Okay, so -4 minus 3, that's -7. Okay. And then -4 divided by 2 is -2. -7 divided by 2 is -3.5. That's your final answer. Again, try number 3 out. It's the same steps. It's just 3, same steps. Okay, let's do number 5. Sorry. Let's do number 5 here. Now we're working with the distance formula, right? So it's kind of similar to the midpoint stuff, but the distance formula, it's a different formula, right? So the formula looks like this. Okay. And we have our first point L and we have our second point M. We're gonna plug our numbers into this equation, and then we're gonna round to the nearest hundreds. Okay. So same process here. x1, y1, x2, y2. And let's just plug it into our equation here. x2 is going to be -8 minus x1 is -5, and then squared, plus y2 is 10, and then minus y1 is 7. Okay. Now let's simplify, right? Let's make things a little bit easier to work with. -8 minus, and then -5, those two negatives make a positive, so that turns into -8. plus 5, right? Negative 8 plus 5 is negative 3 squared plus 10 minus 7, that's just 3 squared. Okay. And there's a common misconception. People keep thinking negative 3 squared is negative 6 because you're doing negative 3 times 2. That's not true, right? Negative 3 squared is actually just negative 3 times negative 3. The power of 2 exponent means that you are taking this inside number and multiplying by itself twice. Okay, that's what the exponent means. Negative 3 times negative 3 is 9, okay? So 3 squared is going to be the same thing. 3 times 3, which is 9. Okay? So do not make that same mistake. We're going to get 9 plus 9 and square root of 18. Right? And then square root of 18 is going to get us, if you plug that in the calculator, you get this really long decimal. 264068712. The question says round to the nearest hundreds. This 4 is the hundreds place, the second number after the decimal. The number next to it is 2. So remember, this number next to the hundreds place, if it's lower than 4 or below, then you're going to stay at 4. Okay, if it's 5 or above, then you're going to move up to 5, right? Move up to the next number. So here 2 is obviously below 4, so we're just going to stay at 4.24. Okay, so that is our rounded answer. So try out number 6 on your own, right? Try out number 6 on your own. And once you finish that, your final answer for number 6 should be 5.83, the distance between L and N, right? And I'm going to use that information for number 7, because in the directions, it says based on your answers in number 5 and number 6, plot the points and find the perimeter and area of the triangle. So look at L. L is negative 5 and 7. That's the same as these ones right here. This is negative 5 and 7, negative 5 and 7, alright? Same thing with M and N. They're the same points. So let's plot those points first. Let's plot those points. L is at negative 5 on the X and 7 on the Y. So I'm looking at the X axis and I'm figuring out where's negative 5. Negative 5 is right here. And then 7 on the y-axis, 7 on the y-axis is right here, right? So negative 5 and 7, they meet at those points. So this is your point L. Negative 8 on the x, 10 on the y. 10 on the y is right here, and negative 8 is up there. Okay. And then negative 8 and 2. Negative 8 and 2. So this is L, this is M, oops, this is N. I'm going to connect my dots, and you get this triangle here. Right? So now you have this triangle, and perimeter. Perimeter just means you add up all the sides. So this side right here, all you have to do, is count the dots, count the boxes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oops. So MN is just 8. So that's 8 plus. And then ML, right? ML, that was our answer right here. LM, ML, same difference, right? Is going to be 4.24, so we know this is 4.24 plus another one, ln, and that's our answer when you finish that number 6 from ln. So 5.83. And just add them all up. So that should be 17. Oh, sorry, actually. This is 5.83. I'm going to shorten the video as much as I can. So there you go. Sorry, 1807 should be your final answer. Okay. But how about the area? There's a specific formula for the area of a triangle, which is just 1/2 times base times height. But it's important to figure out what's your base and what's your height. In our notes, we have that this side would be the height and this side would be the base. But when we look at our triangle, right, it's kind of flipped. So the 8 would be our base, right? Number 8 would be our base. So our base is going to be 8. Plug everything else in. And what about our height? What would our height be? So you're looking here. The height would be this side right there, right? So that should be your height. And that counts to just 3, right? 1, 2, 3. So 1/2 times 8 times 3, which is the height. 8 times 3 is 24. Half of 24 is 12. Okay. So that's that. And then let's move on to the rest of these, right? I'm going to do number 8. You're going to do number 9 on your own. So let's look at number 8. Number 8, the measure of VUQ is 40. QUT is 13x plus 1. And then VUT is 19x minus 7. We want to find QUT. So let's start with VUQ. VUQ. That is going to be 40. QUT. That's going to be 13x plus 1. And then VUT, which is the entire angle, is going to be 19x minus 7. Okay. So now we want to set up our equation. This is very similar to what we did in the first problem, right? Where we see little different sections of the picture, this part, and we see the whole thing. So let's just, oh, it looks like a smiley face, right? Let's just add it all up together and then set it equal to the whole thing. Right? So I'm going to take 13x plus 1 plus, combine it with the 40, and then it equals 19x minus 7. Okay. So now let's what the heck? Sorry. Let's combine like terms. Okay, let's do this. So again, on the left side we have 3 different terms, on the right side we have 2 terms. Let's see if we can find any like terms on the left side. 13 has an x, 1 and 40 do not have x's, so we can combine those. 1 plus 40, that is 41. And then I didn't use the 13x, so let's bring that down. Okay. Now we're in a similar situation, right? We have an x on the left, we have an x on the right. We only need one of them, so let's move one over. Typically, I want to move the 13x to the other side because I want positive numbers. It's easier to work with positive numbers. You could do minus 19x, but you're going to get negative 6x. It's just easier to work with positive numbers. So let's do minus 13x instead. Right? It cancels out here. 13x minus 13x is 0. 41 equals 19 minus 13 is 6x. And then now we want to get this x by itself. How do we get rid of minus 7 and 6? The minus 7, opposite of minus 7 is plus 7. Okay. So now we just divide by 6. Okay. Look, you need to know how to do this stuff, right? Solving for x. I keep saying this in class. There's still some people out here who are choosing not to understand this stuff and not paying attention every time I go over this. I don't know how many times I go over this in class. I think we've done so many different problems when we solve for x. You should be able to recognize some of these patterns, right? Math is just a study of patterns. You just see some of these patterns, follow the same rules. That's it. But the question says, find the measure of QUT. QUT was this green one right here, right? So we know what x is. Just plug it in. QUT is 13x plus 1. We know x is 8. So that's 13 times 8 plus 1. 13 times 8, 13 times 8. 104 plus 1. 105. Okay. Moving on. Try number 9 on your own. I'm already doing so much for you. I'm doing half of this study guide for you guys, alright? A little more than half. This is how much I want you guys to succeed. This is how much I really want you to succeed. Okay, let's go through these. 10, 12, 14, and I'm done. Right? And honestly, I'm gonna go through these kind of fast. So pause if you have to. Right? Pause if you have to. Number 10. Right here, we have these two angles. This angle and this angle. When you combine them both, they create this straight line at the bottom. So this is supplementary. Oh my goodness, my pen is not working. So these are supplementary angles, right? And that means you add them and set it equal to 180. You add them up, set it equal to 180. Right? Let's follow the same steps we've been doing. Combine like terms and solve for x. We got two x's on the same side this time. 6x, 3x. So when we add them, that's 9x. 5 plus 4, that's 9. Okay. Do the same thing. Subtract 9 on both sides. 9x, these cancel out. Equals 171. X is equal to 19. Okay. Next one. These right here, every time you see this right angle, I want you to think 90 degrees, right? And so these are complementary angles. Complementary angles. These angles add up to 90 degrees. So this plus this equals 90. 5x plus 1 plus 29 equals 90. Do the same thing. Here we have some like terms on the left side. That's 30. Solving for x, how do we get rid of plus 30? That's minus 30 on both sides. Equals 60. How do we get rid of 5? We divide. X equals 12. Okay. Alright, last one here. We have these two angles, right? These two angles right here, 57, 6x plus 3. These are vertical angles. These are opposite from each other. So vertical angles, since they are opposite from each other, vertical angles, we know that they are congruent. So all you have to do is just set them equal to each other. Right? So 6x plus 3, subtract 3 on both sides. You don't have any like terms to combine. These cancel out. 57 minus 3 is 54. Divide both sides by 6. And you get, what is this? 9? Yeah, 9. Okay. So I went over more than half of the study guide with you. And hopefully those of us that need to retake the test, you can use this to help you out. Watch this video, okay?